What's up, guys? It's John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Today, I want to explore challenging the idea that doing something is better than nothing, because this is a fundamental premise on an unconscious level that we have to address on the path to the soul, on the path to God. We assume that doing something is better than nothing. Almost anything is better than nothing. And in a way, this is going to keep us in motion, either looking towards the future or going backwards. There's always this feverish activity. Something has to happen. There has to be some movement. There has to be some motion. Reason being is because on an unconscious level, we think that something is better than nothing. There has to be something to latch onto. There has to be some activity, something has to happen, basically. We don't really question this as we go on the path because we're so used to our normal mode of operation, going somewhere, doing something, planning, reflecting back on the past, and we miss what's right here and right now, the stillness of the moment, the silence, the presence. God is timelessness. And without time, there's no moving forward or there's no going backwards. So all there is what's right now, exactly, without lifting a finger. And not lifting a finger is very difficult if you ever try it for yourself, if you ever try the practice. The reason being is because we always feel we have to do something. It feels too vulnerable. It feels too dangerous to just sit around and do nothing, basically. It doesn't feel like we'll survive. It doesn't feel like the universe will take care of us. We feel helpless. We feel worthless. And there's more judgments. More judgments. There just comes this super ego with its criticisms. And we're very attached, very conditioned to this type of criticism that gets us to act in a way that we feel will bring us survival. So basically, there is a feeling of needing to control reality. This is an imagined control over reality, and without this imagined control over reality, we feel like we won't be able to live our lives because we don't know how to just sit and do nothing. It takes practice, especially in times where it's a crisis situation almost. That's when we most need to just maybe take a step back and pause and just stay still. Be still and know that I am. That I am, and that beingness, and that stillness, and that presence, there's a peace. And the cost of that peace is giving up our need to do something. Again, it's a very difficult thing. It takes a tremendous, what's the word I want to use here? A special motivation, a special intention to reverse, to undo the need to do anything, to let go of the need to have some activity, to let go of the need to grasp, to hold, to control. No one will ever do it because it's too difficult and we feel it's too dangerous. Their survival instinct is really, really tough. I mean, humans have been on this earth for millions of years, and we've been passing down this instinct for survival through the generations, and it has built up a certain style of survival, a mode of operation. This is the civilization. This is human civilization. This is society. And we need to have these structures in place that maybe evolve, that help us to evolve forward. And I'm not here to say we need to drop that, and we need to just forget about surviving. We need to just do that temporarily in times when we know that it's not always needed. But if you notice, we can't ever stop. We can't ever let go of this need to survive. And that's more attachment. So the truth will set us free. But if we notice, we're always attached to the need to survive, to move, to have activity. And that becomes an issue. And here's the thing, when that becomes an issue, we're going to notice it, and then we're going to judge that even more. So we're going to start judging ourselves for judging ourselves. And it becomes a cycle, and it goes on for a long time without us ever being aware of it. And we're not even aware that how the judgment affects us, how it creates unnecessary suffering. We don't know how to escape it. So we just think it's normal. We learn to live with it. And then we think we know something's wrong with the world. We don't know what it is. No one hardly wants to address any of these issues because they're painful. There's very little support in the environment to talk about these kind of things. We don't have any room to hold ourselves in that space of vulnerability. Because when we let go of the survival instinct, the vulnerability is so great, it doesn't seem we can last in that vulnerable space. But if we're going to travel the path, we have to address these issues. It takes a long time. It takes a concerted effort, an intention, an extreme form of sacrifice, basically. We have to give up the need to survive, give up our attachments, give up our need to control. And these are very difficult things to do. So it takes a practice, it takes a lifestyle, it takes awareness and consciousness to just be without trying to lift a finger. And again, in times of crisis, it's very, very difficult. So we need to start small, somewhere where we feel safe enough, where we won't feel judged, in an environment that's conducive to our growth and development. The soul is a huge, huge undertaking, the path of the soul. But it can be done. And we just need to be aware that that tendency to have something rather than nothing is a barrier. And we need to concentrate and figure out why. Understand it. Why do we believe something is better than nothing? And it's a very unconscious thing. We don't think about this in this topic that's not hardly addressed. If you go anywhere in most spiritual circles, most churches, no one hardly talks about these types of things. I don't think most people understand it. So it's our job to figure it out. Why do we believe something is better than nothing? Maybe if we stay in that nothingness long enough, there's another side to that. Maybe there's something more to the nothing that we think is nothing. We're judging it. And here's the thing. We keep judging. Judgment is the forbidden fruit of mankind, our downfall. And we don't know when to quit. It's the problem. So when we get to the nothingness, we keep judging it as worthless, bad. The vulnerability, we can't handle it. So we get away from it. We start to panic, right? In a desperate attempt to avoid the nothingness. I propose we can embrace the nothingness. And it's our refuge. It's our peace. We think it's going to annihilate us. We think it's our death. And it kind of is in a way, psychologically. But in the long run, it's the opposite. That's what I propose. I'm not here to tell you. I'm here to say, to make a proposition for you to check for yourself and find out for yourself. It's not my job to tell you it. I'm here as an example, basically, for other people to find out for themselves, as a guide. So that's my proposition, that the nothingness, I propose Take the hit, pay the cost, sacrifice whatever you need to get that nothingness. That nothingness might be more than what you think it is. It might be more than nothing. It might be everything in the long run, at least. When you first approach it, and you might be like, I hate this. This is ugly. This is stupid. It's undigestible. I can't fathom it. I can't stand it. That's basically how it feels. But I think in the long run, it becomes an acquired taste. And you start to say, hey, there's something about that emptiness. I kind of like it. The first couple of times you face it, it's like you don't like it. You don't want anything to do with it. Next time you come around to it, you somehow get in that same situation, that same space, and then you get a little further into it, and you can last with it a little bit longer, and you're like, hey, I kind of like this. What is that? And you feel like, I want more of it. And then it starts to become a runaway. It's like a feedback loop, a positive feedback. You get a little bit, and you want more, and you get more, and it's like building muscles. Like you're going to the gym, you're training. You're getting stronger, you're getting better, you're developing, you're growing into new areas, new territories. And then you start to be like, oh, wow. It starts to take over your life. And you're like, this is what I wanted the entire time. I just couldn't figure it out. I was going about it the wrong way by trying to get something instead of nothing. Take the nothing, embrace it, hold it, get to know it, live with it, love it. That's reality. That's part of the emptiness that a lot of the activity is trying to keep us away from. If you notice, that nothingness is better than all of this, everything we're trying to get, all the gold, all the riches, all the jobs, all the security and comforts that we're trying to get out of life are basically resolved in that nothingness. You know, the Lord is my shepherd. There's nothing I shall want. There's nothing I lack. I lack nothing. That's basically what that points to. The path to the soul is that emptiness. It's better than the nothing. It's better than the something. Better than anything you can hold, anything you can get in this world, anything you can get. Jesus said, do not put, store for yourselves treasures on this earth where moth and rust destroy. I'm going to raise that statement to the 100,000th power because it's very true. And you have to experience that for yourself. I'm not here to dictate to anybody, but I am here to say that nothingness is better than anything you can reach for in your life. So stop trying to avoid it. Embrace it, because it's just a matter of time before you have to face it in its entirety. He's not a partial, I'm just going to do it sometimes when it's convenient. I'll practice. I can stay into something when, I can stay in the nothingness and the emptiness only when I'm at home by myself and I feel comfortable. It needs to become eventually, I'm not saying right away, but eventually it needs to become second nature. Like you do it all the time as you live your life. You're going out to the mall, you're going shopping, you're doing the grocery shopping, you're paying your bills, you're outside in public or whatever. We practice to the point where we can stay in that state of emptiness, that vulnerability, that nothingness our entire lives. That's how it eventually will be. But you start small. Start where you are. Embrace the nothingness. It's not something to avoid. It's not something to be scared of. We have to face our fears about it, our hopes and desires. We have to not ditch them, but we have to slowly let go of all of those, of everything we're trying to do in our lives. And that's part of the emptiness. That's part of the nothingness that we need to embrace, that we need to hold. So is something better than nothing? That's the fundamental question we need to ask ourselves. And why do we believe that having something, having content in the mind is better than nothing? We think we can get something out of it. We think we can extract we believe there's some type of value there on an unconscious level. Holding something, desiring, acting out of our impulses. We think that's the best thing to do. We're only doing the best we know, the best we can with what we know. But we don't know that that's actually creating more suffering in the long run, because we're separating ourselves from being, from oneness, from God, from unity, from the earth, from creation. And that hurts. It's a wound to our soul. Basically, we're chasing false gold that doesn't last. You know, we get a little comfort, we get a little satisfaction from the things that we're reaching and grabbing for in our lives, but in the long run, we know that it doesn't satisfy because it doesn't last in the long run. The real lasting satisfaction we're looking for is by going into the emptiness, into the nothingness, going deeper into it, embracing it, and making that a lifestyle. Something is not better than nothing. That's what I propose to you. Go and explore it for yourself in your own experience. John Dominique, the Soul Proponent.